Hi friend, my name is Hunter, and in today's video I will show you how to create a window, and I'm going to be using this example which is like a little isometric room here, and we'll be putting a window in one of the walls. And so we'll be using a Boolean, and we'll also use a add-on to create a Venetian blind in front of it, which is super easy to do. So the first thing I need to do is actually create the window. So we're going to select the room here, and I just want to isolate this. So on my number pad I can hit the slash key. That'll isolate just the room on its own. If I hold down Z, I can switch the view modes, and so I want to go back into solid rather than working in rendered. And if I go into edit mode by hitting tab and hit 3 for face select, I'm just going to select this face here. I'm going to go Shift D to duplicate the face and right click to place it back in place. I can use P to separate the selection. If I tab out now, I have got a separate shape, which is just the face there. And so what I'm going to do now is rename that. I can use F2 to rename it quickly, and we'll just call this window, like so. And I'm going to drop this into my window collection here. I'm going to work from there. Before we continue on, I'd like to say that we will be using a lot of shortcuts throughout this tutorial, and while I try and mention all the shortcuts, and the shortcuts are displayed on screen, sometimes I forget to mention some of them. So I'd like to give you a shortcut cheat sheet to help you out, and you can use this with all your projects in Blender, and it will help you memorize some of those hotkeys to help speed up your workflow inside of Blender. So at the link down in the description, it's completely free. It's just a PDF guide that you can print out and have beside you, or keep it on your computer ready to open when you're also working in Blender. So follow the link in the description or head to interactive.studio/resources. All right, let's keep going in the video. And now with this selected, I can just tab in, and I just want to add some loop cuts with Control R. And if I use the scroll wheel up once and just click, I can apply a loop cut. But you can see here I'm still shifting the loop cut. So if I right click, I can apply it into the center of my shapes. And this works the same as where my fireplace is and where the extruding wall is in my room. If I hit the slash key on my number pad, you can see that the edges of that are down the side of that. And so your room may be a bit different. This is just how my room is working. If I go back into that shape here, tab into edit mode, 3 to select the two faces, X, and we'll delete those faces. Next thing, I want to just put the origin into the center of the window. So I'll go Shift S, cursor to selected, and I can let go of Shift S. That'll put the 3D cursor in the center of this face. Tab out, and we'll go to object, set origin to here, origin to 3D cursor in the center. Hold down Shift S, move my cursor to the side here, and I can go cursor to world origin, and I can let go of Shift and S. That'll place the cursor back in the world origin. Now I can use my number pad slash once again, and in here, if I go 3 to look on the side view, I can scale this down, and this is where we're making our window shape. So if I hit tab into edit mode, A to select all, I'm just going to hit 1 to see the vertices. I can just scale this down like this. And we just want to get it to the window size. So if I scale on the X, scale on the Z a little bit, get our window shape here. And then we have it. Now I want to duplicate this, so if I just go Shift D and right click, we'll do that in object mode. So we've got two windows, and now I can, I'll just hide this window from view, and I want to rename window 01 as a Boolean. And so we're going to be using a Boolean operation to cut out the window here. So with that selected, I can go back into edit mode. I just want to go GX, move that a little bit forward, and E to extrude it. And by default, it's going to snap it into the X direction. And I can let go and click that there. I don't probably need it as far. We just need a shape that'll go straight through our wall. So now what I can do is tab out, and with this here, I don't need any materials. So if I just get rid of all the materials here, I don't really need any. So I'll just take them all out. And I can start the Boolean operation. So if I select my room and go to the modifiers tab, which is like the little wrench here, I've already got a Boolean applied because I've already built this before. So if I just hit the cross here to delete that, I can add a modifier, and it's over in the generate down at Boolean here. We can select the shape that we want to use as a Boolean. So I can just click that and hover over the window, the shape that's in our window that we'll be using to cut out. And that will be our window Boolean here. And I want to use a fast. And now if I select my window Boolean here, I can come up to here, which I don't know what tab that is. That is the object properties, I believe. If we scroll down to viewport display, I can change this to a display as wire. So that'll only display the window shape as a wire. Now I don't want to be able to click on this, so I'm going to go up into here, and I'm just turning on the selection under the restriction toggles, just this selection tool here, and so that I can't select the window Boolean. And we also have another issue where this will show up in our render. So we have to hide the camera here so that it won't show up in our render as a big shape. Let's show our window again. I'm just going to hit 1 to go front on, and with that selected, move it back a bit into our wall here, like so. And once again, we're going to duplicate this. So Shift D to duplicate it. And we'll rename this to glass. And of course, we're going to hide that, and we'll just work on our window. Now, for the original build of this room, I didn't actually use a glass material. I just had it open because I put a Venetian blind in front of it. But for this tutorial, if you're just using a window, I will make the glass material to just show you how to do it. So I'm going to tab into edit mode here, and I'm going to inset this face here. So I inset, I think it's 0.01. If I type that onto the number pad there, I can hit enter. And now we want to add some loop cuts into this. So Control R. We want to add a loop cut into the center. Just click once, and we want to right click to apply it to the center. And we'll add a loop cut going horizontal here, and left click to apply it. And with that still selected, I can just hit G and Z to move it up. So we'll have this smaller portion up the top and a larger portion of the window down the bottom. Let's grab our face select and select all the faces in the center. I to inset, and we can press I again to inset the faces individually. And we'll put in that figure once again, 0.01, hit enter, and that'll inset that once again. And I can just X and delete those selected faces. So we've got something like this. If I go A to select all, 1 for the front on view, let's go into wireframe mode here using Z. And I can just go E to extrude, and we'll extrude it a little bit like that. A to select all, we're going to go GX. I'm going to move it back into the window a little bit. Maybe I want to show my glass here so I can see the glass. So just roughly center that in the glass. One thing here, I don't think the normals are working properly. So if we go Shift N, that'll recalculate all those normals, and that normals view is in here under the viewport overlays down the bottom here. I've got the normals checked here, and so I can turn them off now. I don't really need them. Let's go back into solid mode, and you can see there that we've got our window. I also want to create a sill here. So if I just go to edge select mode, select that bottom edge there, I'm going to go Shift D to duplicate it and P to separate the duplication. Let's go tab to enter object mode, select the window there, tab into that, select all using A. We want to extrude this in the X direction. Extrude it out so that it is enough for a windowsill. We're going to extrude this up. And I don't really want it full height, so we'll go to about there. And for this one, I think I will add a Bevel Modifier. So it's still got the Boolean applied because of the window here. So what I'll do now is add a modifier there, the Bevel Modifier, and we'll go 0.001. Hit enter, and we can change these segments up. And you could shade that smooth if you really wanted to. Right, so then we've got our glass here. And if I go 1, enter wireframe mode. If we go tab, I can just go GX, move this back. And I can move it back slower by holding down shift. I'm going to E to extrude it and hold shift again so that we've got a little bit of depth to the glass. I'm going to go A to select it all, shift N just in case the normals are off. And we'll go back into solid mode here. Now I'm going to start actually shading some of this. So you can see here, this is the issue with the Boolean here, where it shows up in, will show up in our render. So if I've already turned it off on our render, but at the moment it's showing up in our display. So we can uncheck that and just hide it all together. It shouldn't show up at all. And we're going to do a few things here. So I think we'll keep this as the floor material, tab A. And I should be just able to remove all those. Tab out, remove all the materials and just re-put the floor on. Floor, enter, we can go tab U, smart unwrap, just to unwrap it a little bit. And so we've got the windowsill there. I'm going to keep the brown around here. The only other thing I might want to do is actually duplicate the Boolean. So if I go Shift D, let's show it all and allow it to be selected. So grab the Boolean, Shift D, right click it back into place. And I'm going to rename this. So we'll go, let's just call it frame for now. Tab, and I just want to keep the edge. So if I alt click this edge, will it grab the loop? So if I just hold down shift and select all these edges here, where's that other edge? There, which will grab the face. And if I just go Control I, that'll invert the selection. I can go X and delete edges. So I should just have a face here. Alright, so with that face there, what I want to do is extrude this. So we're going to extrude it out to about the width that we would like here. And if I... Something's a bit weird here. We can see through. So another thing we want to do is down here in our object properties, we want to go to the wire and display it as a solid once again, like so. So if I undo a couple things, that should be good now. So it's displaying as a solid. And if I go 3 for face select and alt click this face here, let's deselect, let's select the front and back there and go Control I. And we want to extrude this out. So if I go 3 on my number pad, Alt E, extrude along normals. S should keep it an even offset. I can just hold Shift, extrude it up a little bit like so. We want to get 3, select that center there, X. Let's go faces and grab that faces. Now we have an issue in here where that's not filled. And so now we've just got a little bit of tidying up here to do on the inside. So if I just select the 2 edges on each side, if I use my slash key on my keyboard, I can just isolate that and go F, select those 2, F, select those 2. We just want those 2. F, select those 2, F. That should fill all that center in. Slash on my keyboard once again. Tab. This is off the wall, so we will move it back in X. Shift it back like so. If we snap it using Control, I do have my edge snapping turned on for that. Alright, let's have a look at this. So we've got an edge now. If I go into rendered view, let that do its thing. Let's grab, got some shapes here. I come down and select everything. We want our Boolean hidden like so. Let's hide that Boolean once again. Let's add some materials to this. I want it to adopt the material of this frame here. So if I select that and the lighter color, if I go Control L, materials, it'll apply the lighter color of the selection to the darker colors here. And I want this one to be the white. So if I just get rid of all the materials here, add white, hit enter, that'll be my white there. And then we've got a glass happening there. So now we need to do our glass materials. So what I've got to do is in shading, I want to select the shape, and over here I'm going to get rid of all of these, and we'll create a new material called glass. In here, glass. Hit enter. And in here, what we're going to do is we will get rid of the principal, hit delete, and I want to add a new shader in here, which is just my glass. I want to add a mix shader. I'm just using Shift A to bring up my add menu. I also want to add a transparent BSDF, not translucent. And we want to connect some of these up. So we'll put the transparent in the bottom of the bottom shader slot and the glass in the top shader slot. And then we'll connect the shader from the mix shader to the surface. Let's go that. If I go into my rendered view here, you can see it's starting to come together. I just want to do one last thing. We want to add a light path in here. And I want to add a math node here. This is just to help our glass render a little bit quicker and be a little bit more realistic. So we'll take the isReflectionRay and put it in the top value. And we'll put the transparent depth in the bottom. And I want this to be a maximum, I think. Maximum, and put the value into the factor like so. All right, so the last thing I want to do is add in the blinds up the top. And so what we're going to use for that is just a plugin or an add-on. So we'll go to edit, preferences, and up in here if I type Arc, you'll see there's an add-on called Archimesh. And it's all these assets are made that are already in Blender. So if I hold down Shift up the top here and right click, that will add my 3D cursor to the top here. And what I can do now is go with the Archimesh. I can go Shift A. Under Mesh, we go down to Archimesh, Decoration and Props, and we want to add a Venetian Blind here. So we've got some settings here, and it wants us, if we open up these little options, it wants us to work from the Properties panel, which I think it's down here. If you press N, you can bring up your properties. Let's go back into the layout. N brings up the properties. It's down under Create, and this gives us all the options for our blind. So the first thing I want to do is go R, Z, rotate by 90 degrees. And we just want to make sure, let's go back into solid, makes it a bit easier. Make sure that this little thing is on the right side. If I select my base of my blind again, I should be good. Let's go 3 and start editing some of these options. So I think this first one is the width of the blind. We can click in here and drag it up so it just covers the width. I'm holding Shift to slow down the scaling. The next one, let's have a play with it, is this amount of like slats we have inside. And I think this one is the size. So if I just scale the size up just a tad and bring these slats back down like so. Let's look at a different view. Now I can change the angle here of the blind. And so I'm also going to just turn off the material here. I don't want to I don't want it to create the material, because I'm just going to add a basic material to all this. So this is parented. All the items in here are parented with one another. So to shade this, I can go to rendered view. And to select everything, we can use Shift and our bracket keys. And we just want to whack that a couple times because there's multiple children, or layers of children if you like. And we want to add in a white material just to that. Hit enter, white material. There we have it. And so there you go. You've got a blind here. It's really hard to see when we're in rendered view. But you've got a blind, a reflective glass material that works in cycles. I'm not 100% sure if that glass works in Eevee. And we've modeled a window in our room. The last thing that you could do is see the inside of here. If I go to rendered view, the inside of our window, you might want that as a white. And so the way I would combat that is when I'm done, I would apply the Boolean just here, apply. I can tab in and I can access, let's use our slash key on a keyboard. I can access the center of this now, and I can go 3. And in here, then we go down to our materials. I can assign one of these colors to the vertices or the selected faces. So personally, I would pick probably white, or we could do it the wall color, which would also make sense. And assign that to the center there. So now if we go out of isolated view, it's all white around there. Another thing I just want to point out before we finish this tutorial is if we select the top, the blind up the top here, we can edit everything inside. So I can change the angle which it's affecting my light. So I can change the angle just by selecting the top of the blind there and coming back into my properties over here and going to the create. And I can alter that angle to let in less or more light. And also another thing that I did with this is I didn't have the glass. So if I select the glass and hide it from all views, I think it just helps with a bit of the lighting. So if I turn it on and off, you can see the glass is really stopping a fair bit of light. So for this case, I turned the glass off. You could probably also boost the light, but I didn't want it all blown out here. So for this, I keep the glass off like so, and just keep it turned off for this render. And you want to work with different lighting scenarios, turning things off. The glass isn't actually visible in this, so I didn't see a big point to actually having it. I just showed it as an example of what you could have. All right, that's it for this video. If you were struggling to follow along, I found when I was learning Blender, the shortcuts were one of the hardest things to follow along. They did so many shortcuts so quickly. So I have got a shortcut cheat sheet which you can download in the description if you would like. It's a little bit more of an intermediate leveled modeling and shading, and I did move quite quickly to cover a lot. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.